So this is going to be music theory number 2. Where I had left off with the last music theory video is I had discussed building chords using a scale, right? And the scale that we were using was C major, just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Why? Well, because it follows this pattern. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now, if you saw the actual Facebook Live, that was where I kind of got to before we ran out of time with the other camera. So it cut off the end of that, which is fine. Kind of a separate topic anyway. Okay. The way we had divided up talking about chords was just strictly based on the letters. Just play a letter, skip a letter, play a letter, skip a letter, play a letter. Reason being that if you can't get that part down, adding in this stuff is going to make it 1,000 times worse. Okay? You can have a gun and aim it at a target and tweeze and maybe hit the target. If you have 6 targets, you cannot shoot them all at once. You still have to go one at a time. So if we have 2 roving things, one being that we're not familiar with the letters yet, and the other being that we're not familiar with the formula for how to get the letters yet, you're now trying to juggle 2 things at the same time, right? When you juggle, you don't do that. They're staggered, okay? You're still doing just one thing at a time, and that's how it always works. So with this, I had mentioned this at the very end of the last video. The thing that most people get wrong, okay? The formula is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, and assumes that you are aware that, like on a piano, when it goes white key, black key, white key, black key, white key, white key, black key, there's gaps in there where there's no black key, correct? Every one of those notes is 100% equal. It's the same as on guitar or a bass or violins, although violins don't have frets, any stringed instrument, stand-up bass, whatever. It would be first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, fifth fret, sixth fret, okay? The black keys are not the black keys because they were banished to the other side of the piano. They're not different. And the white keys aren't the white keys and made extra big because they're extra important. They're not. They're all of equal importance. But if we made them white key, white key, white key, white key, white key, white key, and just had it where it was all the same size keys, to make one chord, your hand would have to be just monstrous. So they put these keys in between to make them easier to reach. Also, it does things in terms of music theory. For one, when we use this formula, whole, half, any letter that we start on, we can use this formula and still have one of each letter name. That's important to writing on the staff, right? The staff is the lines that you see with music, whatever. We're not getting into that today, okay? I actually think that's harder than the stuff that we're going to talk about right now. So the thing that I said that most people miss, okay, C to D is a whole step. I can't begin to tell you how many people think that this W is this C and this W is this D. It is not. It is in between them. You need a starting place in order to go somewhere. So when we go from C to D, that is a whole step or 2 frets or 2 notes on the piano, white key, white key, or black key, black key, right? Whatever happens to be 2 up. In the weird spots, it could be black key, white key, or white key, black key, right? 2 more. Pick a thing, do the next available thing, no matter where it is, whether it's white key or black key or whatever, do the next available thing after that, and that is a whole step. We have to have a starting point, though, okay? When we do that, if we do it correctly, the space in between these is a whole step. In between these is a whole step. And then in between E and F, it's a half step. And then whole step, whole step, whole step. And the last one is a half step again. Okay? That is important to this. These are the modes. And this is how we shape our sound. Okay? You'll notice there's a star here. You'll notice there's a star here. I need to grab my marker. Oh, I got my marker. Okay, here's why that's important. Okay, what we're doing when we label these modes, okay, if I start on C and follow this formula, which is all we're going to do right now, I get Ionian or regular old major scale. Just regular old generic major scale. However, if I were to start on D, I then have whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step. That's not the formula for a major scale. That gives us what is referred to as Dorian. Dorian, I like to refer to as a jazzy minor. I did not say jazz minor. There are scales that are labeled as jazz minor. This ain't it. This is just jazzy. It sounds very jazzy. Jazz players do use it. Typically, a jazz scale has 8 notes, not 7, though. Okay? Just an aside. Just don't get the vocabulary confused. If you call this the jazz minor, you are not correct. If you say it sounds jazzy, you did a good job. Gold star. Okay. So Phrygian is Spanish. Sounding. Again, these are just labels for them. That doesn't mean this is the Spanish scale. There's plenty of them, and frankly, some ones that sound a little bit more ethnic-y still than what this one does, but it does sound very Spanish. Lydian. Easiest way to label this one is the movie mode. Why movie mode? Well, because they use it in movies a lot. It's where the camera pans up, like they're trying to make the final, like, uplifting spiritual point. It's in the stars, Timmy, it's in the stars. And they go, ba, na, 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 and they're panning up in the stars. And I've seen it in the movie Elf. In particular, I know I saw it just recently there. I'm sure it was in E.T. I'm sure it's in any movie that has an uplifting feel to it. That's just what this thing does. Joe Satriani, that was a favorite of his, I think, and maybe Steve Vai as well. Or maybe it was Steve Vai and potentially Joe Satriani as well. One of those. Anyway, guitar people. Mixolydian, bluesy. Okay, notice there's a lot of E's here. Jazzy, we'll make that Spanish-y. That one's already movie. Bluesy. Okay, Aeolian, natural minor. Just regular old minor scale. If somebody says minor scale, this is what they're talking about. And then Locrian is weird. Now, in music theory, it is most common to relate everything to this major scale, this major scale. So when we call this one home bass, because it is, you notice there's another square down here. That's because it is also major, and the difference is that this one has a sharp 4. Notice there's another square here. That's because it has a flatted 7. Well, what the heck is a sharp 4 and a flatted 7th? This is back to the chord thing. You count. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's it say? It says F. So how do we make it a sharp 4? You make it an F sharp. Okay? Well, what about the 7th? You said flatted 7th. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's now a flat. This went down a half step. This went up a half step when we made those moves. Okay? Now, this is a video, so if you didn't get it, rewind it. Okay? The problem comes in when we use this scale to describe the rest of them. And that's what a lot of people do. So for instance, an Aeolian would be a flatted 3rd, flatted 6th, and flatted 7th. Now that is not only a lot to keep track of, but given that these other triangles are going to change even more than that, it is too much to keep track of. So rather than label everything based around major, Ionian, what we need to do is have 2 home bases. This is home base for major, the squares. This is home base for minor, the triangles. So if we know that this already has a flatted 3rd, a flatted 6th, and a flatted 7th, then that means that we can then base these other three that have not yet been named against this. For instance, Dorian ends up with a natural sixth, meaning you put the sixth back where it was. So now we just have a flatted third and seventh. Do we need that information? No. What we need is this, whatever the fingering would be on our instrument. And for people who are in the guitar group on Facebook, I will, in fact, include the fingerings. Plus, we'll talk about my secret scale method that I said I was going to bring up in the group too. For anybody who's not in the group, go to rkstrs.com / I believe it's FB backdoor to get in. It's a monthly group. I'm going to put out some high level lessons every single month. It's not expensive. It's less than half of what we charge for private lessons, and those are a half hour a week. And it will allow you to ask questions as well. Okay. 4 high value lessons each week. Some of the upper level kinds of things like understanding how to use this. So anyway, guitar group guys, it'll be in there. Okay. So far we made these changes, but I don't want to think about these changes. So we're going to ignore that. What we're only going to focus on is I play a minor scale, but when I get to the 6th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I'm going to raise it rather than like, okay, you get the idea. This is the thing that changes. And this is why I want to have a home base here, so we can just focus on the one thing that is the change. Now that was a natural 6th. This one, we just flat the 2nd as well. So we would have a flat 2, 3, flat 6, flat 7. Okay. But if we do it this way, all I need to do is play a minor scale. And when I play the 2nd note, move it back a half fret or a fret, half step. Locrian ends up with 2 of them. It's got a flatted 2nd, which we just had, and a flatted 5th. Okay. Don't misunderestimate, because that's a word, this concept. Okay. Having these 2 home bases is crucial, especially for guitar players where the fingering is the most important thing. Piano, you might choose to do it the old traditional way and relate everything to major. I wouldn't want to, because once you can get it under your fingers and know that it's just this one thing that changes, it opens up the whole world to you as far as what to do. Okay. I will provide examples of these later on. For right now, let the concept sink in a little, and we will come back with another video that shows what they actually sound like. Hopefully that helps. Talk to you soon.